Started at 10. It's quarter past 11. So let's have a look at what I was talking about. No? Die motor moet eintlik stil staan. Ga die motor was man. So is hy. Hou net vas, laat stil staan. Moenie hou nie. Jy het al nou te wys wat die crank doen. Wat dit moet doen nie, wat die crank nou eintlik doen. Staan kan sy stil staan asseblief. Hoor julle dit? Okay, nee, ek gaan terugstoot. You see the distance that it moved? You can have some tolerance, no? For play, but not. This is not tolerance, that's movement. But ja, dat is weer uit. Dat is nou uit. Nou gaat daai daar leggen nou in. You know things are bad at your suppliers when you ask them not to give you kings. And this is all they can give you is kings. We are boycotting this company. This is Israel. Ek koop die normally nie. Yeah. But unfortunately, you know things are bad when the only thing they can supply you with is kings. Yeah, that's it. Don't look that bad, but look at this. So that's why the crank normally fucks up. Burnt oil. A ton of burnt oil. But yeah, let's go die kak uitdruk en weer over. Yeah, I can actually see past that bearing there. Look at that gap. Past the bearing. That's fucked up. What it's supposed to look like? Oops. This is what it looks like. What the difference? Yeah. That's there also, nah? That's why we're replacing it. Brand new. Right? But now, the goal of showing you this is to show you what happens to the bearing when the crank walks. So at the end of the day, you see this corner, this edge here, before you put your bearing back, you got to deburr that again, no? It's got to be like this side, that's not the edge so sharply. So deburr that side on that side, no? As you can see, I did scrape something over here to get this surface flat again. You'll find out on most of the caps that most of them will have that burn marks on the one side. You see that? That's how much the crank was walking, and then it ends up creating a resistance on the engine, so it actually slows you down. You understand? This is metal on metal from the crank moving into the sides of it. Can you see it on the crank? Yeah, you can. There's markings on all of them. This part of the crank here, it's not supposed to be touching the caps, no? This is supposed to stop it, but there's a lip now. There's a whole 5mm indentation in there. So the thickness of the bearing was already in there, and the bearing was gone already. Yeah, so you guys gotta smell this oil, what it smells like. It's burnt shit. Very badly burnt. 10 to 3. Actually, 3:15. Motor's in. Ons sit dan die harness vas. Ek gaan 'n olie invok en coolant invok. Dan gaan die ding start nou. Yeah, I'm done. I did a crank swap. Crank lying somewhere. But yeah, in the previous video you would have seen what the condition is of the crank, and that is due to not servicing the vehicles on time. That is why it does what it does. The skipping the servicing is the problem. The car is not the problem. Let's put the person behind the steering wheel as the problem. You understand? So if you're gonna miss service this thing every 6 months, man, change the oil regularly, then the cam's gonna survive, the crank's gonna survive, the oil's not gonna burn in the motor. If you're putting a lot of miles on for the week, just change your oil a lot, man. That's all you need to do to save the motor. Change the oil a lot. 2:06. I'm delivering the vehicle. She's behind me. But there's quite a few things that the car still needs. The car definitely needs a different starter. The car definitely needs a little bit of things around the engine bay. Suspension wise, alignment and things like that. Back is lowered. It's got a coilover kit on it. It's a very uncomfortable vehicle to be driving on a farm. But she's behind us. She's on her way home. Damage on the old crank. If I left it like that, it would have hit a bearing knock. Meaning that crank would have split in half. I've seen that before. A few times actually. The crank actually moves so far up that it actually just locks up and it shreds everything to shit. But yeah, that's the end of the 1.4 Gamma utility. Bucky was in a good condition. The crank I pulled out of there was standard. I put another standard crank back in. So yeah, it's a bit later, about 2 or 3 hours later. Me stopping there is the vehicle actually died behind us, and you heard me say just before that the vehicle needs a starter. Yeah, and the problem is the alarm also kicks in when the car dies. Basically, if it cuts off and you put the ignition off, you gotta press the alarm button again. So I was waiting for him to actually get the vehicle started again to come forward. He didn't do clutch control correctly. We delivered that vehicle now. The first time I delivered that vehicle, it had a CV seal fail on me. An original CV seal, which is normally not a problem. And then I replaced it. It's 2 weeks later, and I gotta replace it again. As I delivered that vehicle, we stopped in front of the house, literally a meter from the other oil stain that I left in front of their house. I left another oil stain now in front of their house because of the CV seals. So another problem I have is suppliers. CV seals. I need some of those for myself as well. So I need to buy at least 4 sets. I need at least 8 CV seals. That's 2 for my car, 2 for the client, 2 for my daughter, and 2 for the gentleman that works with me. So yeah, I'm getting tired of replacing these things. I mean, if the vehicle's lowered also, lowering the vehicle actually brings the CV much closer in. It brings the CV inboard. So if the vehicle is high, it actually pulls the CV out. But the moment you lower the vehicle, it pushes the CV in. So here we have 2 factors playing against me. The fact that the wheel alignment of the vehicle is not wonderful, and the mere fact that the vehicle is lowered. The back side's got 17s on, the front side's got 15s on. So yeah, if it had the 17s on, it still would have had a little bit of height, but it does not turn with the 17s on. That is why they fitted the 15s on, fatter tires. But it still basically almost bottoms out when the vehicle goes over South Africa's covered in what we call little bumps and speed bumps. It's not exactly a pothole yet, but it's a dip. So once it hits some of those, the push down and the comeback is a little aggressive, meaning it bottoms out, which is a problem, especially on that vehicle, because it flexes outwards when it bottoms out and then it pulls severely back in again, which is an issue. So yeah, so now I'm sitting with 2 dilemmas. I'm going to ask the client tomorrow to do the alignment. The fitment center in my neighborhood is extremely cheap, meaning that they charge half the price of anywhere else in Cape Town charges. $150. Everybody else is going to charge you $250 to $300. That's just to do the alignment. So yeah, I'm going to ask him to go and do that first, or at least let me finish up, then ask him to go and do the alignment, and then take it from there. If that doesn't do the do's, then I have to ask him to bloody lift the thing again, because then it's out of my hands. It means the CV head is literally pushing further than the one is supposed to. And I am familiar with sinking the seal further in, just a little further, because the factory one is fatter, so it sits out further, but the dip to the inside step is manufactured very well. So the aftermarkets, they are thinner, and the part where that hugs on the CV, it's not the same. The material's different, like bad, very bad. So now I got to source one, at least source a brand name that will be good, because I also want it. That's the thing. We can't keep filling the boxes and keep replacing CVs and shit, and not just CVs, but pulling CVs to replace seals to put it back in. It fucks with your alignment, and every time you disturb shit, and you're gonna end up damaging more things by in and out, in and out. You're not supposed to. It's not supposed to be like that. I know. I'm supposed to keep the phone like that. I'm aware. I'm still getting used to YouTube. Forgive me.